Happiness and Success family. This video is for anyone out there who is sometimes really harsh on themselves, especially when they make mistakes or when things are not going right in their lives and they get in this negative rut and it starts a cascade of negativity, and you want to kind of override that and change things, and you find it hard to adapt and change your patterns and your emotional states. So let's dive straight in. So I want to start off with a very powerful analogy, and that's, a lot of people put pressure on themselves to be perfect. I call it the perfectionist's downfall. I write about that extensively in my book, The Art of Power, Happiness and Success. And I want to give you the analogy of how the universe was created. In a way, the universe was partly created out of luck, really, as it relates to gravity. And the same sort of things applies to us in our world as well. In order to create luck, in order for things to open up to us and to open up new doors, metaphorically speaking, we need to be imperfect. I mean, there's no such thing as perfection. If you're looking for perfection, then you're living in this fantastical, illusory world that you're never going to achieve. And your ego and your patterns over time, 95% of your perceptions, your beliefs, your emotions are subconscious programs. You've done it so often that your body now knows how to do it better than your mind, your conscious thinking. Your body epitomizing your unconscious and the familiarity and what you're used to doing, an automatic response essentially. And the problem is that when you get caught up in your patterns, your behaviors, and you put this impossible pressure on yourself to always do things perfectly, what's going to happen is, firstly, whenever you do step out of your comfort zone, you're likely to fail and let yourself down and therefore give up too quickly. And what's even more damaging is that when people have that kind of perfectionist mentality, they tend to not take action very much at all. And the key component for that is because they're worried about making mistakes. And if you're worried about making your mistakes and you've got that perfectionist mentality, and I totally respect people who set high standards for themselves, I do that too. It's just that I allow myself room, if you will, to make mistakes, to learn from my mistakes, to grow, to not think that I'm going to always execute things, especially new things, at the highest level. No, there are layers to this game. To develop a skill, a level of competence, there are layers, and you're going to make mistakes when you're looking to get better at anything in life. And the problem is, people who have that perfectionist mentality, they're not going to take action. They're going to stay in their comfort zone. And perfectionists tend to be very depressed. I have to be honest. There's a very strong correlation between perfection and depression, because that's unsustainable. And if something's unsustainable, you put a lot of pressure on yourself. You take less action. Anyone who takes less action becomes inactive, more lethargic. They stay within the familiar because they're listening to their conditioning of their conditioned consciousness, if you will, their personality. They start thinking things like, I don't do those things, I'm not good at that, I am good at that. And they only stay within things that they're good at. And that's very limiting. That leads to very rigid, fixed belief systems, and it's much harder to overcome those limitations because you're so preoccupied in your egoic mind, and you're so focused on how you're being perceived, how good you're doing, that you demand from yourself to be perfect, and you're also concerned about how other people perceive you. You don't want to come across as weak and vulnerable, and therefore you become weak and vulnerable because of that internal conflict and that suffering of always wanting to do things perfectly. And that leads to all kinds of awful manifestations, whether it be chronic stress and illnesses and diseases, or mental disturbance. I know this is slight hyperbole, but a lot of people do develop a lot of addictions and obsessions, and different levels of abuse and low self-esteem. It's kind of masochist kind of mentality, if you will, because of this suffering, because of this pressure that mounts up within them, and they don't have appropriate outlets. They're not learning, they're not growing, they're stagnating, and therefore you're going to find it very difficult to literally become more intelligent. Yes, depression. Okay, let's break this down. Cause and effect, right? So if you stay within your comfort zone, if you stay within that perfect mentality, that will cause depression. Depression will cause inactivity, a lack of action. A lack of action will reduce your potential in yourself, and it will reduce the amount of things you're learning on a regular basis. Does it make sense? Learning through watching videos or reading books or going on seminars or courses and applying some of these things in different areas within your life. You take less action, you learn less. That produces fewer brain neurons within the hippocampus and different parts of the brain on a daily basis. That literally means depression, because of your perfectionist mentality, will actually make you, ironically, less intelligent, because you're not doing new things, you're not taking action, you're not exercising, meditating, doing this, learning from these people, interacting with new people, challenging yourself, stepping out of your comfort zone, forgiving yourself for making mistakes and all these sorts of things. You're not going to grow because you're stuck in that perfectionist mentality, because you're stuck in your ego and your own reputation and that compulsive thinking that takes over, that negativity that overwhelms. When you completely identify with yourself and your conditioned consciousness, your limited consciousness, that surface level of consciousness that we talk about, based on physical form, and what you see is what you get. When we're so much more meaningful than that, we have so much more joy, togetherness, and commonalities amongst each other. And the ego, that perfectionist mentality, breeds exclusivity. You want to be significant. You feel that you're separate and different from everyone else. And therefore, when you feel like you're separate and different, you're protective of your own ideologies. You're more protective of your own possessions. You're more protective of your own personality. You don't let people in as easily, and you're also very defensive. And that leads to all kinds of problems in relationships and all these sorts of things as well. So be careful with the perfectionist mentality. Yes, set high standards of yourself, but allow room for supposed failure, which just means results, really. Allow room to learn and grow. Challenge yourself in many different capacities, because it works the other way around. If you take more action, if you face your fears, if you challenge yourself and step out of your comfort zone, you will not be depressed, because you're constantly growing, experiencing variety, developing new things, open up new possibilities and options and choices for yourself in your life, therefore ensuring that you're not depressed. Instead, you're quite joyous, quite peaceful, and so on and so forth. And that will make you kind of calm down in terms of your over identification with your own egoic mind. You'll become less of a perfectionist, because you appreciate and you understand what cycle is happening, as what I just outlined for you. So yes, if you appreciate this content, make sure you like this video. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and also click the notification bell, because every single week I release several videos like this, but also episodes, podcasts, one-to-one coaching sessions, and much more. Definitely subscribe. Not only that, you might want to get my book, The Art of Power, Happiness and Success. You will love it. It's a fantastic read, helping you on your own journey to even more greater success, abundance, growth in many different areas in your life. Have a great day. You can get that book, at Amazon. You can also get it at my store at www.alexgemstore.com. Have a great day. Look after yourself. Stay strong.